Hello, everyone. Welcome to FlowMSP's webinar on unlocking the potential of building and occupancy data for informed incident response. I'm Joy Ortiz, the marketing manager here at FlowMSP. And today I have our Director of Customer Operations, Bradley Martinez, joining me to share his expertise about collecting, maintaining, and using building and occupancy data for the fire service. Bradley works with our customers in a variety of capacities, including onboarding, training, customer service, technical support. He also works closely with our developers to improve the app features and the functionality. If you have any questions during this webinar, please email us at help@flowmsp.com and we will get those answered for you. Let's get started. Bradley, thanks for joining me today, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about this topic.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thanks for having me, Joy.
So today we're covering building and occupancy data. And here at FlowMSP, that information falls under the umbrella of RMS data. Will you tell us a little bit about what RMS data is?
Yeah, well, RMS stands for Records Management System. And it is where a lot of fire departments store critical building data and other data that is important to their call response. Some fire departments don't use a records management system, but any department that keeps their data in either in a software or in a spreadsheet can take advantage of data migration with Flow.
Okay, so you would say probably most fire departments have some version of this, whether or not it's on the computer or in a file folder somewhere. They collect this kind of information regularly.
It differs from department to department. So some departments may have lots of data that's collected on an annual basis. Some departments may have data that's collected on a less frequent basis. Some departments just haven't gotten started yet in that process of sort of knocking door to door. I would say that almost every department has at least a list of their business addresses and a list of people who either own or manage the property and a phone number to get in touch with them.
Okay. And where does that information typically live? So a firefighter goes out, collects that information. What do they do with it?
Yeah, so in the traditional sense, usually RMS is a place that they store the data, then they use it to populate their NIFRS report and things of that nature. So it's a quick, easy path. Other departments may use it for inspections. So making sure that their community is compliant and doesn't have lots of fire risks. Some agencies are able to use that RMS data out in the field through mobile apps and things of that nature. But in my experience, very few departments do take advantage of that information out in the field, like construction type or even how to get a hold of the person. That can sometimes be hard to access out in the field through a records management system. So it's not super dynamic. Sometimes it's even just stored locally on the computer, and so there wouldn't even be a way to access it out in the field. But again, it differs from department to department. We see a wide variety of people at sort of different points in their data collection process.
So do a lot of those files end up as PDFs? Like if departments are using them in the field through an app or, a binder or something like that, are they PDFs?
Some departments choose to convert the information that is stored in RMS into PDF files, but that's not typically something that that's not something I've seen in my experience very often. Some departments will keep, PDF files of things like schematics and floor plans, as well as a PDF file of a sort of a fact sheet PDF file that they typically collect that information out in the field on just on a clipboard, usually paper and pencil process, that then gets entered into the computer and then PDF files printed out. But again, it depends on the department, and depends on the RMS software they're using. Some RMS softwares allow you to really easily create PDF files, and then those may be printed off or stored on the app. Or there's a lot of different solutions for a lot of different departments and how they try to use the data in RMS.
So how would a first responder use that information if he or she did have it readily available in the workflow?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the really key questions that we have today. And I want to look at our solution so we can, sort of talk together about what having the information more readily available can look like. And so this is an example of a community that we have loaded some information just programmatically into our system through a list of addresses that's been pulled out of RMS. And we just filled this in with a note that it was auto traced by our system. And we'll actually help you get set up with these polygons as a department if you were to choose to go with our solution. But the information shows up very easily and quickly on our system, where you can review information like who to get in contact with in terms of an emergency. So to circle back to your question, Joy, when firefighters get a call, they have just a couple of minutes typically to arrive on scene, and having quick, easy access to different points of information can make a real difference in your workflow. And even if it's not a serious emergency, in the middle of the night, knowing who to call to deal with an issue after hours can, just be a quicker in terms of efficiency for an agency. And at the firefighter level, it helps them, get back in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, helps them be efficient with their time and get the person out that needs to be out in a couple of short minutes.
Right. So you're shortening up that incident response time by having this information really quickly and easily available at a single tap, right? So you just click on or tap that dispatch notification and all of this pulls right up. You don't have to go looking for it.
Yeah, that's correct. That's a lot of programs that are cloud-based these days are helping to start connecting fire departments from the calls and information out of their CAD system straight to the actual location of the call. And we're a solution that does that as well. We take a very high level of accuracy with our dispatch as well. So it's one of the advantages to our product is we're extremely accurate with that location information. But that's absolutely the idea, is if we can get in one click from point A to point B. We also provide things like turn by turn navigation. We talked about one point of RMS data, like the owner information, and how that might impact you in just the day-to-day call. But on the larger scale, firefighters will tell you, Joy, that some of the information like construction type or roof type, depending on the community that you're serving and depending on the types of construction that you have that's really prevalent, some of these can be really critical, data points for an incident commander, to make decisions that keep his guys safe. And the reality is that there's a lot of things that happen at the command post, and chiefs will tell you that a lot of information coming in, and real-time information on a lot of variables going into, trying to go into an RMS product or into a binder to look something up, is a step that can very easily be passed over because of the time investments. Even if it takes 30 seconds to pull that information up, that's 30 seconds that other people may need their attention for. It's 30 seconds when there's other variables that may be happening. So from a command perspective, having this information at your fingertips can be very valuable. And so when we look at this list of information, these are, Joey, this is things that we typically see in RMS systems. And this is information that we can help you convert from your RMS system, which is, at the computer at the station, onto your phone, onto your MDT, connected with the call information from your CAD, so that you can really easily make decisions that are impactful both day to day and when you catch the big one.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So having that information readily available right there, like really quickly, will make it a lot more likely for command to use it, first of all, right?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. And sometimes this sort of information, if you're not looking at it in front of you, it may be easy to overlook. Something like, for example, some roof types are wood at the top and then metal underneath. And so you may be taking the wrong tool up to the roof. So having this information sort of right at your fingertips where you can review it really quickly, it actually, makes it even more impactful.
So how can a department get this existing information they've already collected into the FlowMSP platform so they can use it here like you've shown us?
Yeah, that's a really great question as well. And, this is something that can be very hard with programs like ours. And any chief or officer that has gone through a couple of different pieces of software in fire service, in terms of inspections or pre-plans, things of that nature, knows that it can be very, very difficult to transfer information from one platform to another. And what makes us unique as a company is we invest very heavily in implementation, especially when it comes to RMS data. So there's a couple of things that we'll invest in. One is partnering with you to pull as much information out of those systems. We have a ton of practical experience with all of the major RMS vendors, including Firehouse, Image Trend, ESO. And we just know how those systems work and how to be efficient with them. So we'll be able to pull the information out, and then we'll look at the information with our expertise. We'll be able to predict some things that that may be problematic about the data. For example, strip malls where you may have one address but several different occupancies listed. So we want to make sure to get as much information from point A to point B. So we'll look at that together with you and determine the best course of action on a per occupancy basis. For very large organizations, which we've worked with, several 100,000 resident communities, we will sort of take it bit by bit. It takes some time and some intentionality, but it ensures that the information that we're getting from point A to point B is accurate. Some of the things that we'll be looking at is how current is the information, how valuable do you think the information is? So we don't want to waste time reformatting information that may be less valuable to your response team. And at the end of it, we'll get the information uploaded to the points in the map where the buildings are located, in as many cases as possible. We usually, have our customers really thrilled with the amount of buildings and the amount of data we're able to get uploaded. but you'll have the final say. We can talk together about what we've achieved, and based on the expectations going in, we'll make sure that, and we'll continue working with you, to get as much information as you can into the system, help you with strategy to get information that may not be super easy to upload at first, give you sort of long-term strategies to help you get some of that more difficult information into the system long-term. One of the things you mentioned, Joy, was PDF files.
Mm-hmm.
So we can set departments up with a strategy to help them get those PDF files uploaded into our system as well.
That's great. So basically everything they already have collected, if they want that to come into Flow, they can, right? You help make that possible.
Yeah, it's, with technology, sort of big, bold claims like that, I think are never fully accurate. And, there's some sort of old and outdated pre-planning software tools that we may struggle with getting information out of. They may not have super easy ways to export the data. But if your department has invested in the past in any of the major RMS solutions, that I absolutely feel confident that we can help you get a vast majority of the information into our system, and most importantly, the information that is most important to your agency.
Right. So once that information is in Flow and you've got it all in there, how can departments keep that easily updated so that it's always up to date and current?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, Joy, and it's a question that a lot of agencies, have to strategize on. And I don't think that there's really a one size fits all answer. One of the things that I really like about our system is that we will actually tag when the information has gone into the system. You can see here that it says last reviewed by, and you can see this is actually a script that we use to pre-populate all of this information. So it's a good example to help show that and illustrate that we've done all of this work with a computer system. I haven't actually loaded any of the information here, but if we had the information, we certainly could. But if I right click on this building, and this is on our web application, we have a mobile application as well, where you can do the exact same thing. But if I click edit location, this will allow me to review the information, some of the details on the size of the building and the address information. We can also select things like an occupancy type. I'm not sure what this building is here, but let's say that it is a business, and we'll hit the submit button now. And you'll notice, Joy, that this tag has now updated. So you can see the original pre-plan here was loaded a little while ago now. And you can see that this was last updated or last reviewed now. And you can see the name has also changed to my name. And so you can really quickly and easily sort of track the updates and the timing of those updates, as well as make really quick updates. And actually, I'll show you one more thing here in the edit, that these fields are actually drop-down menus, which make it super easy to update it really quickly out in the field from a mobile app or from an MDT. These are, a mix of NFPA as well as NIFRS terminology, and they're made simple. So one of the things that firefighters and officers and chiefs alike will know is that occupancy type in NIFRS has just hundreds, over 1,000 different, I think, occupancy types. Well, we've made it really simple and broken it down into subcategories. It's the same subcategories that the NIFRS occupancy codes use. to just make it a little bit easier for people at the firefighter level to get involved with the project. So, it may not be as detailed as the information that is collected in RMS that's used in the NIFRS reporting, but to have the response information on the field, we make it really easy for you to update that information really, really quickly.
That's great. So because they can do it out in the field like that with this tool, that would make it a lot easier for them to collect that data. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And, depending on how the fire department is set up and, the frequency of calls, I see communities taking the opportunity when they go out for things like activated fire alarms to take a moment at the front desk, and update the key holder information, make sure that it's the same person, same phone number. Small steps like that can make a difference, as I suggested earlier, in terms of the day-to-day workflow.
That's great. Okay. So that covers all of the questions I had prepared, Bradley. Is there anything else you wanted our listeners to know about RMS data for the fire service?
Yeah. So I think that, one of the things that's important, and if you've made it to this point in the webinar, your ears are probably perked at this juncture. RMS data is hard. And data administration, data migration is hard. That's why it's so important to have help and partnership, from people like me and the rest of the implementation at FlowMSP. You've probably heard big claims from other companies about how easy it is for you to migrate data from where you're at today. But I'm guessing that very few of them have followed through on strategy and review with you and several touch points, ensuring that you're having an easy time of getting the tools that you need to actually get the data off the ground, in the first month of the project. So our partnership with the customer is number one when it comes to making sure that we take advantage of the data that you've spent days, months, years collecting in the past, and make it accessible to your team at a moment's notice when you need it most.
Bradley, thank you so much for taking the time to go over this with us today. I think you made it really clear that RMS data has so much more potential if it's easy to keep it up to date and it's used in the incident workflow. So as we see more and more fire departments changing the way they collect, maintain, and use this information, it just really underscores the value of what you've discussed today. It's transforming the fire service.
I agree, Joy. And if anyone has any questions, in particular, would like to pick my brain a little bit on the Flow solution, you can feel free to email me at bradley@flowmsp.com.
All right, Bradley, thanks a lot. And that concludes our webinar today. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks so much, Joy. Thanks, everyone out there.
Have a great day. Stay safe.